I am 23. I saw this study where microplastics were found in male testicles. I myself was not surprised because with how everything is processed and packaged. Like, come on. My main concern is for future generations, because this, among other things, is going to cause major health issues for them. Story 1. Sorry to break it to you, but microplastics have been found all over the place in the human body, including the bloodstream, lungs, placenta, and the entirety of the digestive system. So decreasing sperm count is on the list of a host of other issues that will plague future generations, mainly cancer. Story 2. Microplastics are in everything. Everything. Not just our bodies, and it's not new. Yes, it's not good for us, and the damage can only be guessed at, but we're already stuck in the deep end of the pool. All we can really do is tread water and try to survive. Story 3. It is too late for us and probably at least the next 3 generations. Even if we stopped all plastic right now and focused intensely on cleanup, there is already so much out there that it will probably take centuries or more to remove most of it from our cycles. It is the same thing with that Teflon chemical. I do not know how we would ever get rid of that. Story 4. I am worried about it. I try not to use plastic in everyday life. Use glass, stone, wood, and steel products wherever you can, especially food and drink containers. Most of our clothing has plastic fabrics in it, so I try to buy 100% cotton or wool. No plastic water bottles, even if they say BPA-free. I even use a boar hair toothbrush instead of the plastic fiber toothbrushes everyone uses. Story 5. Microplastics are in everything on Earth. They can't even properly research what it is doing to us because they can't find a control group that is plastic-free enough. I am way more worried about my possible future children than my health. Story 6. I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, it's not that I'm fine with it. It's just that it's something I cannot change. Why should I stress myself out about something that is completely out of my power to change, will not immediately kill me, and will not lead to my body decaying in the foreseeable future? Story 7. The only place where there are no microplastics that I'm aware of is in my well, and I know that because the university 4 hours away makes annual trips for free to my house to test it. It's one of very few, and it's only a matter of time before it has them, and they want to track when that occurs. As of last year, we are good. Story 8. We do not know the long-term effects yet. I think dumping trash in the ocean is one of the main ways it happens. Something eats it, then something eats that, then we eat that. Story 9. I don't mind them. They add an almost euphoric weight that constantly reminds me that my balls are there as I walk. Sometimes, they even hang low enough that I sit on them and send a tingling pulse straight up my spine. Let's also not forget the advantages of them dipping into the toilet water for a quick dip. Story 10. Fair trade-off. It was a good way to protect food from spoiling and prevent people from getting sick. But once there are other resources, there is no need to keep making things worse. Make a change back to paper or biodegradable materials that are less harmful to the earth. Stop producing so much plastic. Start making choices in the future to prevent this from getting worse. Why just accept it as the norm? It's not going to get better. Story 11. Plastic is everywhere and in everything. This is perhaps the biggest issue we are facing now. It affects all life. The average human has an intake of about 10 kilograms of plastic during their lifetime. Some health officials in my country said plastic is not that bad since 90% of it will be removed by the body. This is the most foolish thing I've read. What happens to the 10% inside our bodies and the children and their children? What happens to the plastic in feces? Who removes them? Can water treatment plants remove microplastics? We are not taking the issue of plastic seriously. Whenever someone drops some radioactive nuclear waste somewhere, everyone reacts with alarm. Radioactivity diminishes over time, whereas plastics are forever. Story 12. Super cautious, to be honest. I first learned of it about 3 years ago during quarantine. I saw my plastic cups and replaced them with glass since I've been meaning to upgrade anyway. Regarding my kitchen utensils, initially, I got the cheapest plastic ones available. Now that I have more disposable income, I replace them with steel or wood. I realized that microplastics will likely affect lower-income people more than the wealthy, who already avoid them. For example, Looking at my wardrobe, I noticed my favorite and longest-lasting items were made of natural fibers. I bought a few Levi's a few years ago, and the only ones not falling apart were the raw denim ones made from 100% cotton. I don't live in fear anymore. Obviously, avoid it when you can if you are able to. I'm not sure how much this will affect us, but I'm doing what I can to avoid it. Story 13. I do wonder how much it contributed to my low testosterone diagnosis. Now that I have prescription testosterone, I don't particularly care about this specific issue. I do care that there are likely microplastics settling in other far more important organs, though. Story 14. I think there's a lot more to it than that, too. Water bottles, plastic cutting boards, plastic cutlery. We had been using the plastic IKEA cutlery and dishes for our kids for a while when I took a bite from someone's plate, and it tasted strongly of plastic. That stuff is just leaching into the food. We tossed it all and got stainless steel for the little ones. Oh, nylon cooking utensils. Every nylon spatula I've ever seen has a melted blade. You cook with one of those and you're just pouring liquid nylon into your food. Wood, steel, or silicone here? Story 15. I do not go here, but the question was so bizarre it caught me off guard, and I had to do a double take and just stare at the wall for 30 seconds straight to process what I just read. Story 16, it's in our brains too, you know. They found out that plastic has started to pierce the blood-brain barrier over a year ago. Of course, no one really makes a fuss about it. It's found in ovaries, and no one said much. Now that it's in the testicles, everyone suddenly flips out, laughing out loud. Story 17. I'm only concerned if they are actually doing harm. Like, sure, I would rather be free of all pollutants. But this is the modern day. Everything is polluting us. My question is, which ones should I be worried about and which ones can I relegate to, I don't like it, but I can live with it. Story 18. I have 3 kids, so I assume it's not life-changing. I assume the microplastic is one of those things that's all over my body and a symptom of an environmental issue. I put it in the cupboard with the other growing environmental issues that I can do nothing to stop. That isn't killing me yet. Story 19. I don't really care. If it's in me, it's in everyone else. Nothing I can do about it. Maybe my microplastic sperm will meet with a microplastic egg and will give birth to a doll. That would be nuts. Story 20. The sample size was 23 humans. The study was done by a researcher for the Nursing College of Mexico City. Let's take a breath on the global panic until we get a better study. Story 21. I think this will be yet another issue for people with fewer resources. Wealthy individuals will consult the best fertility specialists and somehow manage to conceive, even if there is only one functioning sperm cell left. While they're at it, genetic defects and hereditary conditions will be addressed using gene editing technology. People with fewer resources will face challenges, but no one will care since they are not wealthy. Story 22. I have not seen a whole lot of compelling research that shows me why I should care. Life expectancy keeps increasing or remaining static over the years, plus I do not want to live that long anyways. Story 23. I recently changed everything I eat with over to glass or silver and no longer eat anything with plastic. I used to be 350 pounds and recently started losing weight, and I'm now down to 295 pounds. I really haven't changed anything other than the plastic where I used to eat my packed lunches out of. Story 24. It's why testosterone levels have decreased among men and young men in general. With reports out there about Gatorade having cancer-causing ingredients, and the chemicals that pharmaceutical companies keep dumping that end up in the drinking water, you have to wonder about all the other things that lower testosterone and make us sick, from our food to lotions and shampoo. Story 25. I already had a vasectomy after 2 children. Other than that, future generations will take care of their own problems. I'm not going to stress about it. Story 26. Sorry to say you get most of them in the air. Tires have plastics that become airborne and you inhale them. Also, your underwear has them as well as most of your clothing. Not a lot you can do. Story 27. Heard about this yesterday. Honestly, pretty scary. But also, as someone who works all over different states, I am at a total loss on the drinking of plastic water bottles. It's really like I have no choice. I love that they say all this and offer no help on how to change it. Story 28. It's in the water, it's in the air, it's in the meat, it's indirect, it's indiscreet, it's inconsistent, it's incomplete, it's in the streets, every city, everywhere you go, in every man, it's the insanity, the fantasies, the casualties. Story 29. We are all going to die sometime, friend. If you believe in God, just stay in touch with Him and enjoy life until it is over. Pretty much all of us get cancer or some crazy ailment at some point. Story 30. If it means I can stay away from having kids, then that is a win in my book. The government is going to solve this soon because without humans, there is no economy, and then they cannot exploit anyone. Story 31. There has actually been zero evidence that these microplastics in testicles have any health effects. But that's why it's scary, because we haven't seen any evidence yet. But that doesn't preclude long-term issues. Story 32. Not sure if there are scientific arguments that microplastics in my body are going to cause health issues. Of course, research papers may contain perhaps and society is concerned lines. But those are business as usual and not scientific. Story 33. Johnny is stroking himself when his mom enters the room. Mom, Johnny, what are you doing? Johnny, I'm trying to remove the microplastics, but I may need help. Mom, shaking my head, you're on your own. Story 34. I am upset about microplastics in general, and especially when people make it a partisan issue. Now conservatives want more plastic everywhere and to reverse plastic regulations, and everything that is not plastic is now some woke material they do not like. It is getting ridiculous. Story 35. Recovery from stage 1 testicular cancer was pretty easy, and it's a fun conversation starter. I do worry if the other one goes, and I have to be on hormone replacement therapy forever. Story 36. It is, of course, worrisome, but there is nothing you can do to undo or prevent it. Sure, it has to be addressed to ban certain products and packaging materials, but this will take decades to have an effect. In our lifetime, we just have to accept this bad news and hope later generations can grow up without the contamination. Story 37. They are in the bloodstream of newborns. It's no surprise we have them in our bodies too. So just be a man and surgically replace your left nut with Legos already. Story 38. I work in a building filled with asbestos, spent time working with radiation, high-power radar, and radio frequency energy. I've got bigger problems than microplastics. Story 39. The reactivity of plastics in a situation like this is not well known or understood. It's not exceptionally well understood in anything really. There are some high-quality studies about the mechanisms of action, but how that translates into relevance for public health is something that will take time to sort out. After all, there are a lot of different plastic molecules, and testing how each one behaves is not going to be an easy exercise. So there isn't much to think other than, yes, plastics, which are in everything now, are in fact in everything. Story 40. What am I going to do about it? Microplastics have already infiltrated everyone on the planet. It's like how our parents and grandparents were affected by lead from gasoline and paint. Roll back the plastic consumption for future generations by all means, but we're in a mess. That is just how it is. Story 41. Artificial joints of all kinds, screws, plates, lens replacements, gut bacteria. Now plastic nuts. How should I feel about it? Will it end up resembling foam insulation? Story 42. Well, who knows how much truth there is in what they say about that. If I have those plastics in my body, it is already too late to avoid. I may be getting extra amounts of those plastics from intimate encounters with the guys that I meet, but I am not sure if I would even know or not. Who knows, I might be helping those guys by reducing those plastics for them. Story 43. I'm not, for the simple reason that there is nothing, literally zero things I can do against it. We all have microplastic in our bodies, not just our testicles. The only thing we can do is reduce our own impact when it comes to introducing more plastic into nature, remove plastic from nature where possible, and push for a cultural change and widespread cleanups. Story 44. I saw something about this. Honestly, I feel like we're going to wind up finding microplastics in everything and just have to accept it as a part of life. It seems like there's nothing it isn't in already. To sum it up, I don't know or care if I have them in my body. Story 45. There's microplastic in literally everything. There's microplastic being found in newborn children. It's probably in your eyes. It's everywhere. So, I don't have a problem with it being in my body as much as I have a problem with it existing at all. Story 46. Can't do anything about it now. But if you don't want your kids having plastic in their bodies, maybe take up a cause or two to clean up the environment and reduce plastic production. Story 47. I handle a lot of things like that by not caring. It's in there and I can't do anything about it. It'll be in the kids' bodies too, at least for a while. It's like worrying that the sun is eventually going to expand, or that the moon is drifting away from Earth, or as a better example, that a cosmic event like a gamma ray burst could randomly kill everything on Earth in an instant. It's just another thing that's bad but out of my control and not worth thinking about when I could be enjoying what's good. I just try to use less disposable plastic and move on. Story 48. Look at it this way, when artificial intelligence runs the world and we have robots around, having plastic balls, plastic sperm, and plastic eggs will give you greater compatibility with AI-run robots if you were inclined that way at the time. Reference: Bollywood Hindi movie Tir Batan Main Isa Uljajiya, where a robotics programmer falls in love with a female robot his aunt's company creates. Story 49. My opinion is that microplastics are going to be our asbestos or Agent Orange in the next 10 to 20 years. I worked in water treatment, and the Environmental Protection Agency very rapidly released a new regulation for por and polyfluoroalkyl substances and related chemicals and started literally shutting down water plants that couldn't get in compliance. The Environmental Protection Agency does nothing fast with water. I suspect there is some hard data that shows that microplastics are bad for people that motivated the Environmental Protection Agency to take drastic action faster than they normally ever would.